Alright, welcome back everybody again to the channel, and we've got some more Wartales stuff going on. As the title of this video already shows, we're just going to kind of go over the update a little bit, talk about it a little bit more in detail, and then provide a link to it if anybody wants to go and read more of the stuff on their own, because since the Wartales playthrough is kind of popular on the channel, and I've taken a little break from the game, I figured it'd just be fine to do this. So the first thing that I want to talk about, which is also I think one of the more notable things, is they've kind of changed the intro to stuff that you are doing. So you can, you still have your stuff here that you like start with in that stuff. I think they changed a little bit of some of the bonuses, like you have 5 less raw material, it's -2 medicine now, you get the starting raw material, you get the 10 bread. I don't know if it was 10 before, the -2 happiness, and then you start with stolen items here if you are escaping from the guard. But then on top of it too, you have your cards here that kind of, make it, I feel, a little bit more, in depth, in detail, thrown a little bit more to help you visualize it instead of just seeing the words. And then, we have here, it kind of looks like everything is pretty much the same for your bonuses. And then of course we have our debuffs here, which also as well all look the same. So again, like Community Update 5, so far it doesn't look like anything that's like, wow, that's such a big change, that's massive. But it's something that is like a quality of life, or just like helping with visuals, or whatever it might be. It's just something that like doesn't need to be in the game, but because it has been added to the game, it does make it, it just seems better, right? Like having this has no downsides, so then that's just, having a good thing. Now going on from there, this isn't the very next thing listed, but it's the next thing that shows up. Again, it gives you a little bit more visualization to show you which of the 2 exploration modes that you want. You have adaptive, which regardless of how strong or weak your people are, when you go to a battle, they're going to stay around the same strength as you. Or you have region locked, which means that in the first area, everybody's going to be quote-unquote easy, and then as you progress, things are going to get more difficult, and the units are going to get stronger, or larger numbers, or maybe both, whatever it might be. And that's not going to really be affected by your level. So you could go to the second area right off the bat in adaptive, and you would be able to hold up somewhat well. But in region locked, if you went to a second area right away, you stand little to no chance. It's going to be probably, safe to say, impossible to be able to ever beat anything in one of the other ones. And then with here too, now you can see, like, you can kind of change, again, it just visualizes it a little bit more. So it's nothing too kind of like crazy, but it's just something that helps with, again, the visualization of it. One thing that it added as well with the difficulty here is you can change your difficulties at any point in the game now. So if you are stuck on a part where you've tried for hours to get through and you're just like, I can't do it, you could change the difficulty of it. Or if you're like, you know what, this has been too easy, I want to upgrade it. And with that as well, the difficulties have changed a little bit. So if you decide to start with an easier playthrough, it's going to be easier than what you're used to. Like, it's become even easier now. However, on the opposite side of the spectrum, if you start on the harder difficulty, it is going to be much more of a challenge. So, it's jumped both ends of the spectrum, and I think that's good, because I have seen a lot of people talk about that. I've seen a lot of people say that the hardest difficulty is too easy. If you've watched my channel at all, you see that the playthrough that I'm on, I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, and I've lost a horse so far. And I'm in the 3rd area. There's like 30-some videos that I have out right now, and I've only lost technically 1 horse, so technically not even a soldier yet. It was a war pony, so do with that what you will, if you want to say that's a person or not. But there have been challenges, obviously, but it's always been stuff that I've been able to overcome. However, again, like I said, if you feel like the game was too difficult and, you know, maybe you're newer to the game or newer to turn-based or strategy or whatever it might be, playing on an easier difficulty here will set you up a little bit nicer. With that as well, they also have changed how animals kind of work. So in a lot of experiences, if you've ever played this game before, you'll notice that you'll go get attacked by a pack of wolves and there'll be 20 wolves and it'll take forever just because there's so many of them. They've now changed it so there's not as many. So I don't know exactly what the number is, how they've done the coding with that, but let's just use the example of you're going to fight 20 wolves. Now you only have to fight 14 wolves, but the wolves are going to be stronger. So it's in a sense the same battle. It's just you get to have more of your turns instead of, you know, you move one guy and then 5 wolves move and then you get to move 2 and then 3 more wolves go and then you go and then another 4 wolves and so on and so forth. So it gives you more time in between the turns to set up and everything like that. So it's again, they've changed stuff to increase and decrease difficulties, but at the end of the day, I still think that it keeps it relatively balanced. Alright, and now for this part right here, we're just going to have the troops pulled up here as I just go over a few different things that have either been added or changed. There's no like pictures or anything to show really for it. You just kind of have to experience it in game for yourself. Down below in the description there will be a link to all of this, so if you want to read it in better detail or whatever it might be, you absolutely can. But I'm just going to go over some of it. The first thing that is a pretty big change is willpower has been rebalanced. So now you will be able to galvanization earlier in long fights. So, and I've experienced this too, once again in the videos that I've done. If you fight large groups of enemies, if you fight 8 enemies, once you kill like 3 or 4 of them, you'll be able to galvanize. But when you go fight like groups of like 20, it doesn't seem to scale with that. You have to kill like 15 or 16 of them before you're able to galvanize. Like the galvanization only works on the last like 3 or 4 troops. So when you're fighting these really large scale battles, it's really hard to get that off. But now they've changed it so that way hopefully it scales proportionally, and your troops, once you take out half of the enemies, you'll start to see a little bit of buffs because you're destroying their morale. The majority of the content, which is the arenas, fighting the elites or the bosses or champions, whatever you prefer to call them, in the tombs and stuff like that, have been rebalanced to work with the new system, which I'm guessing that is going to affect both the difficulty as well as the numbers for like when you're fighting in tombs, because we've done a couple different tomb fights and there are just an unbelievable amount of enemies. It takes like a half hour to 45 minutes to do those battles because there are so many of those rats and the creepers. So having something like this change with it should make it so the fights they're still going to be tough fights again because it makes the enemies tougher, but you're not going to have to play 15 turns before you finally can move on to the next area. The paths have been rebalanced a little bit. Stats given by legendary items were pretty high, so those have been rebalanced. Again, we saw that in the playthrough as well. I got those 2 axes that were from that one thing that I researched, and there's a whole video that I have that is dedicated to us getting that weapon and just cleaning through people super easily. So that's probably going to make my playthroughs a little bit more difficult now. The Inquisition and Trackers are now eligible to trigger an assassination contract. I'm not 100% sure what that means. I'm guessing maybe you're able to get contracts from them now instead. I don't know how the Trackers one is going to work. That one's got me a little bit confused. But we just have to play that in a video, or you guys will have to be able to figure it out on your own and let me know in the description down below, so that way I can properly tell people about that. Gozenberg will now have Inquisition contracts. And the elite's skill pattern now evolves according to the number of units in scaled mode. So I'm guessing what that has to do is it probably, for having really large parties, I assume that stuff is going to stay pretty similar. But when you are playing and you go and fight one of the elites and you have 5 or 6 people and they're getting 2 turns in between every person, that gets pretty difficult. So it probably limits the amount of turns that they can do. But then once you get larger parties, they'll be able to move. So basically it'll be like now these numbers aren't correct, but for every 3 soldiers you have, that's 1 turn that they get to have in that same turn, right? So if you have 6 soldiers, they're going to get 2 total attacks. Again, I don't know if those numbers are correct, how that's going to work. but that is my interpretation of what is going to be going on with that, at least. Another thing that has changed is the economy. A lot of people were complaining in the community, myself as well a little bit, about paying the troops wages. Like, it just like happened quite often. There wasn't a lot that was going with it. So a big change is instead of paying every 72 hours, you pay on your third rest. So now if you've got things where make it so if you make it so your troops have a lot longer, they don't get exhausted as soon and they don't have to rest as much, you're technically going to be saving money. So now quite literally time is money. Like, the longer you can go without resting, the less money you're going to have to pay. So that helps a little bit. Paying your troops on time give a bonus to happiness, which is kind of how it was a little bit already, but you also get more experience in combat now, which is huge, because if they're happier, you know, they'll fight a little bit harder, you know, they'll be more excited about stuff, whatever it might be, you know. So that's really nice. Wages have been slightly reduced, which is also another really huge thing. You begin the game with more resources, which again helps it make it a little bit easier. You earn more crowns, which is your currency, from contracts. The contract difficulties have been rebalanced, and some prices have been rebalanced for items. The influence cost for certain actions have been rebalanced, and the rewards have also been increased. The starting resources have been balanced to offer a slightly easier start, like I had just said, and the earning profession experience has been rebalanced for all professions, so now it's faster to level up, which that one is huge, because I'm pretty sure in our playthrough, stuff like fishing is not too big a deal, right? Because you're always fishing, right? But when you have stuff like your crafting, you get like 1 to 2 experience for everything that you build, right? Like, if I go and I make 20 lockpicks and I get like 18 experience, that is so frustrating because that's a lot of resources that I had to use. But then on the opposite side of the spectrum, if I go mine out like 3 or 4 total caves, I would level up. So having that change is going to benefit a lot, especially even in the playthrough that I have right now. There's a lot of stuff I want to build, but I can't. I should be able to get the strategy table now. I should be able to put some of my commanders there and help with more bonuses. So a lot of these updates are making it so that way you have an easier start and you can scale a little bit more. Like I said, I'm 30 videos in. I'm 3 months or something like that in. I can't remember. And there's a lot of stuff that I've unlocked within the first like 5 videos that I still haven't even been able to utilize yet. Just because, maybe 5 is a little bit of a stretch, but you get the point. I still haven't been able to utilize because even though I've been just pumping out materials and stuff like that, I'm just not able to do anything with it. So that's going to be really cool to have. Another thing that has changed is some units. So leaders are going to have abilities kind of changed a little bit. Now the only way to the ability stop is when the leader dies. So now if you've watched my playthroughs, you notice that what I would always do is I would find where the leader is, I would put Swapsy next to him, and I would have Swapsy go and engage in combat and stop that bonus. Now I'm gonna have to like put Nick over there too. Have Swapsy engage, Nick come up behind and kill him and start doing work like that, because just engaging them is not going to stop the buff anymore. So while we've been talking about a lot of stuff that makes it easier, this one I think is going to make it a little bit more difficult, because now you have to commit a little bit more to get rid of these buffs. Seasoned soldiers have been introduced, so veteran enemy units in the ranks are the most resistant and more dangerous. So again, there's like groups of enemies and that stuff are going to have their quote unquote elite of the group, right? Like their best warrior or whatever it might be. So each faction also welcomes a new unit into its rank. And each faction has a new common passive ability that will intensify the fighting. Their shields also have new skills when they reach a certain level, and some enemies will be equipped with throwing weapons, so I'm guessing that means that more enemies will, because we already know of a couple that do. And then some animals also will have a new common passive skill and just a brand new skill overall. And as well, I will, in the description below, there's the link. Make sure to click that, because you can see that all of the groups have a new unit in their faction. So outlaws get a criminal, deserters get a looter, guards have a defender, legion have a hothead, and there's a couple other ones too that you want to go check out, so that way you can kind of see for yourself. A whole new faction though shows up. The Alizar soldiers have been added. They've got new units, there's new skills, there's new items, so all that type of stuff or whatever, which they don't have a lot of stuff with it. I can throw right here though, you guys can see a little bit. Here's some of the new weapons, so that is something that to look forward to now as well. Former weekly bounties with special weapons are now offered in various regions, so I'm guessing what that means is that there's going to be more quests to work on, and you can get special weapons from said quests. So that is something to just kind of add a little bit more. And then there was a huge, and I mean a massive, there's probably like 30, maybe 40 different weapons in here that have had their damage scaled a little bit, and it looks like most of them have all gotten nerfed, and a lot of them by a pretty hefty margin. A lot of them like 20 to 30% is what it's kind of looking like for a lot of them. So you're going to want to again click down below to read this for your own. As well as a lot of skills have been changed as well, which again, it looks like stuff is being nerfed, and I think that what this is going into proportion of is, I've already stated multiple times, even if you're playing on one of the harder difficulties, I do think the game is going to be easier overall. But making the game easier, if your soldiers stay as strong as they are, it's going to kind of be weird, right? Because then you're just going to be one-shotting everybody right off the bat. So it's, I think what the goal is it's making it easier, but it's still keeping it in this kind of a verse of battles are going to stay the same in like their longevity and strategizing with it and that stuff, just little things to worry about here and there. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's all that we have for this update. Not, like I said, nothing crazy, not like a lot of new things added or whatever, but they rebalanced the game very, very heavily, which is something I'm really excited about, and kind of curious, but also kind of worried about how it's going to affect my current playthrough. But we'll just have to kind of see how that goes from there. I'm probably still going to be taking a little bit of a break from the game, because I did play the game quite a bit to get all those videos pumped out. So it might not be until next week or the week after that I start, you know, bringing out videos again like I have been. I think what my goal will be is in a week or two, I'm going to plan on putting out one video a week of Wartales, and then just go from there. But yeah, I think that that's pretty much all that I have. If you guys did watch this, I do appreciate you guys for taking the time to just hear about my opinions on it. Overall, I think that this is going to be a really, really good update. I'm actually really excited about it. Like I said, I was a little bit played out of this game, but now seeing this and how the changes are, I'm actually really interested to see how stuff is going to affect the game now. But anyway, guys, as always, thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Any support is really helpful. And let me know down below what you guys think about the update, if you've played it yet, or what you're excited about playing, or whatever it might be. And then again, I really, really do recommend go look at it yourself, guys. They're doing a really, really good job here with this game. So go ahead, check out the link down below. Check out to see all the different updates and that stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video.